Chapter 4. The dawn was grey, wet, and smelled of night rain and morning mist. Ciri felt she had slept no more than a few minutes, as though she had been woken up the very minute she lay her head down on the sacks heaped on the wagon. Geralt was just settling Triss down next to her, having brought her in from another enforced expedition into the woods. The rugs cocooning the enchantress sparkled with dew. Geralt had dark circles under his eyes. Ciri knew he had not closed them for an instant. Triss had run a fever through the night and suffered greatly. "Did I wake you?" "Sorry. Sleep, Ciri. It's still early."
"What's happening with Triss? How is she?"
"Better," moaned the magician.
"Better, but listen, Geralt. I'd like to—"
"Yes?" The Witcher leaned over, but Triss was already asleep. He straightened himself, stretched.
"Geralt,"
whispered Ciri,
"are they going to let us travel on the wagon?"
"We'll see." He bit his lip. "Sleep while you can. Rest." He jumped down off the wagon. Ciri heard the sound of the camp packing up. Horses stamping, harnesses ringing, poles squeaking, swingle trees grating and talking and cursing. And then, nearby, Yarpen Zigrin's hoarse voice, and the calm voice of the tall man called Venk, and the cold voice of Geralt. She raised herself and carefully peered out from behind the canvas. "I have no categorical interdictions on this matter," declared Venk.
"Excellent!" The dwarf brightened. "So, the matter's settled."
The commissar raised his hand a little, indicating that he had not yet finished. He was silent for a while, and Geralt and Yarpen waited patiently. "Nevertheless," Venk said finally, "when it comes to the safe arrival of this caravan, it's my head on the line." Again he said nothing. This time no one interrupted. There was no question about it. One had to get used to long intervals between sentences when speaking to the commissar. "For its safe arrival," he continued after a moment, "and for its timely arrival. Caring for this sick woman might slow down the march."
"We're ahead of schedule on the route,"
Yarpen assured him after a significant pause.
"We're ahead of time, thanks, sir. We won't miss the deadline, and as for safety, I don't think the Witcher's company will harm that. The trail leads through the woods right up to the Lixela, and to the right and left there's a wild forest, and rumour has it all sorts of evil creatures roam the forest."
"Indeed," the commissar agreed, looking the Witcher straight in the eye. He seemed to be weighing out every single word. "One can come across certain evil creatures in Caedwin forests, lately incited by other evil creatures. They could jeopardize our safety. King Henselt, knowing this, empowered me to recruit volunteers to join our armed escort. Geralt, that would solve your problem." The Witcher's silence lasted a long while, longer than Venk's entire speech, interspersed though it had been with regular pauses. "No," he said finally. "No, Venk. Let us put this clearly. I am prepared to repay the help given Lady Merigold, but not in this manner. I can groom the horses, carry water and firewood, even cook. But I will not enter the king's service as a soldier. Please don't count on my sword. I have no intention of killing those, as you call them, evil creatures, on the order of other creatures whom I do not consider to be any better." Ciri heard Yarpen Zigrin hiss loudly and cough into his rolled-up sleeve. Venk stared at the Witcher calmly. "I see," he stated dryly. "I like clear situations. All right, then. Zigrin, see to it that the speed of our progress does not slow. As for you, Geralt, I know you will prove to be useful and helpful in a way you deem fit. It would be an affront to both of us if I were to treat your good stead as payment for aid offered to a suffering woman. Is she feeling better today?" The Witcher gave a nod, which seemed to Ciri to be somewhat deeper and politer than usual. Venk's expression did not change. "That pleases me," he said after a normal pause. In taking Lady Merigold aboard a wagon in my convoy, I take on the responsibility for her health, comfort, and safety. Zigrin, give the command to march out.
Venk.
Yes, Geralt.
Thank you.
The commissar bowed his head, a bit more deeply and politely, it seemed to Ciri, than the usual perfunctory politeness required. Yarpen Zigrin ran the length of the column, giving orders and instructions loudly, after which he clambered onto the coachman's box, shouted and whipped the horses with the reins. The wagon jolted and rattled along the forest trail. The bump woke Triss up, but Ciri reassured her and changed the compress on her forehead. The rattling had a soporific effect, and the magician was soon asleep. Ciri, too, fell to dozing. When she woke, the sun was already high. She peered out between the barrels and packages. The wagon she was in was at the vanguard of the convoy. The one following them was being driven by a dwarf with a red kerchief tied around his neck. From conversations between the dwarves, she had gathered that his name was Pauli Dahlberg. Next to him sat his brother Regan. She also saw Venk riding a horse in the company of 2 bailiffs. Roach, Geralt's mare, tethered to the wagon, greeted her with a quiet neigh. She couldn't see her chestnut anywhere, or Triss's dun. No doubt they were at the rear, with the convoy's spare horses. Geralt was sitting on the coachman's box next to Yarpen. They were talking quietly, drinking beer from a barrel perched between them. Ciri pricked up her ears, but soon grew bored. The discussion concerned politics, and was mainly about King Henselt's intentions and plans, and some special service or missions to do with secretly aiding his neighbour, King Demavend of Aedion, who was being threatened by war. Geralt expressed interest about how 5 wagons of salted fish could help Aedion's defence. Yarpen, ignoring the jibe in Geralt's voice, explained that some species of fish were so valuable that a few wagon loads would suffice to pay an armoured company for a year, and each new armoured company was a considerable help. Geralt was surprised that the aid had to be quite so secretive, to which the dwarf replied that was why the secret was a secret. Triss tossed in her sleep, shook the compress off, and talked indistinctly to herself. She demanded that someone called Kevin kept his hands to himself, and immediately after that declared that destiny cannot be avoided. Finally, having stated that everyone, absolutely everyone, is a mutant to a certain degree, she fell into a peaceful sleep. Ciri also felt sleepy, but was brought to her senses by Yarpen's chuckle, as he reminded Geralt of their past adventures. This one concerned a hunt for a golden dragon, who instead of allowing itself to be hunted down, had counted the hunter's bones and then eaten a cobbler called Goat Muncher. Ciri began to listen with greater interest. Geralt asked about what had happened to the slashers, but Yarpen didn't know. Yarpen, in turn, was curious about a woman called Yennefer, at which Geralt grew oddly uncommunicative. The dwarf drank more beer and started to complain that Yennefer still bore him a grudge, although a good few years had gone by since those days. "I came across her at the market in Gors-Velen," he recounted. "She barely noticed me. She spat like a she-cat and insulted my deceased mother horribly. I fled for all I was worth, but she shouted after me that she'd catch up with me one day and make grass grow out of my arse." Ciri giggled, imagining Yarpen with the grass. Geralt grunted something about women and their impulsive natures, which the dwarf considered far too mild a description for maliciousness, obstinacy, and vindictiveness. Geralt did not take up the subject, and Ciri fell into dozing once more. This time she was woken by raised voices. Yarpen's voice, to be exact. He was yelling, "Oh, yes, so you know. That's what I've decided." "Quieter," said the Witcher calmly. "There's a sick woman in the wagon. Understand, I'm not criticizing your decisions or your resolutions." "No, of course not," the dwarf interrupted sarcastically. "You're just smiling knowingly about them." "Yarpen, I'm warning you, as one friend to another. Both sides despise those who sit on the fence, or at best they treat them with suspicion. I'm not sitting. I'm unambiguously declaring myself to be on one side. But you'll always remain a dwarf for that side, someone who's different, an outsider, while for the other side—" He broke off. "Well," growled Yarpen, turning away. "Well, go on. What are you waiting for? Call me a traitor and a dog on a human leash who for a handful of silver and a bowl of lousy food is prepared to be set against his rebelling kinsmen who are fighting for freedom? Well, go on, spit it out. I don't like insinuations." "No, Yarpen," said Geralt quietly. No, I'm not going to spit anything out.
Ah, you're not.
The dwarf whipped the horses.
You don't feel like it. You prefer to stare and smile. Not a word to me, eh? But you could say to Venk, please don't count on my sword. Oh, so haughtily, nobly, and proudly said. Shove your haughtiness up a dog's ass, and your bloody pride with it.
I just wanted to be honest. I don't want to get mixed up in this conflict. I want to remain neutral.
It's impossible, yelled Yarpin. It's impossible to remain neutral. Don't you understand that? No, you don't understand anything. No, get off my wagon, and get on your horse, and get out of my sight with your arrogant neutrality. You get on my nerves.
Geralt turned away. Ciri held her breath in anticipation, but the Witcher didn't say a word. He stood and jumped from the wagon, swiftly, softly, and nimbly. Yarpin waited for him to untether his mare from the ladder, then whipped his horses once again, growling something incomprehensible, sounding terrifying under his breath. She stood up to jump down too and find her chestnut. The dwarf turned and measured her with a reluctant eye.
"And you're just a nuisance too, little madam," he snorted angrily. "All we need are ladies and girls, damn it. I can't even take a piss from the box. I have to stop the cart and go into the bushes."
Ciri put her hands on her hips, shook her ashen fringe, and turned up her nose.
"Is that so?" she shrilled, enraged. "Drink less beer, Zigrin, and then you won't have to. My beer's none of your shitting business, you chit." "Don't yell. Triss has just fallen asleep." "It's my wagon. I'll yell if I want to." "Stumpy—" "What? You impertinent brat! Stump! I'll show you, Stump! Oh, damn it! Brrr.
The dwarf leaned far back, pulling at the reins at the very last moment, just as the two horses were on the point of stepping over a log blocking their way. Yarpin stood up in the box and, swearing in both human and dwarvish, whistling and roaring, brought the cart to a halt. Dwarves and humans alike, leaping from their wagons, ran up and helped lead the horses to the clear path, tugging them on by their halters and harnesses.
"Doesn't offer, Yarpin," growled Paulie Dalberg as he approached. "Bloody hell! If you'd ridden over the axle, we'd be done for, and the wheels shattered well. Damn it! What were you—" "Piss off, Paulie!" roared Yarpin Zigrin, and furiously lashed the horse's hindquarters with the reins.
"You were lucky," said Ciri, ever so sweetly, squeezing onto the box next to the dwarf. "As you can see, it's better to have a Witcher girl on your wagon than to travel alone. I warned you just in time. But if you'd been in the middle of pissing from the box and ridden onto that log, well, it's scary to think what might have happened."
"Are you going to be quiet?"
"I'm not saying any more. Not a word." She lasted less than a minute. "Zigrin, sir."
"I'm not a sir."
The dwarf nudged her with his elbow and bared his teeth.
"I'm Yarpin. Is that clear? We'll lead the horses together, right?"
"Right. Can I hold the reins?"
"If you must. Wait, not like that. Pass them over your index finger and hold them down with your thumb like this. The same with the left. Don't tug them. Don't pull too hard."
"Is that right?"
"Right."
"Yarpin?"
"Huh?"
"What does it mean, remain neutral?"
"To be indifferent," he muttered reluctantly. "Don't let the reins hang down. Pull the left one closer to yourself."
"What's indifferent? Indifferent to what?"
The dwarf leaned far out and spat under the wagon. "If the Squire tail attack us, your Geralt intends to stand by and look calmly on as they cut our throats. You will probably stand next to him because it'll be a demonstration class. Today's subject, the Witcher's behaviour in face of conflict between intelligent races."
"I don't understand."
"That doesn't surprise me in the least."
"Is that why you quarrelled with him and were angry? Who are these Squire Tile, anyway? These squirrels?"
"Ciri." Yarpin tousled his beard violently. "These aren't matters for the minds of little girls."
"Uh-huh. Now you're angry at me. I'm not little at all. I heard what the soldiers in the fort said about the squirrels. I saw 2 dead elves. And the knight said they also kill, and that it's not just elves amongst them. There are dwarves too."
"I know," said Yarpin sourly.
"And you're a dwarf."
"There's no doubt about that."
"So why are you afraid of the squirrels? It seems they only fight humans."
"It's not so simple as that."
He grew solemn.
"Unfortunately."
Ciri stayed silent for a long time, biting her lower lip and wrinkling her nose. "Now I know," she said suddenly.
The squirrels are fighting for freedom. And although you're a dwarf, you're King Hensel's special secret servant on a human leash."
Yarpen snorted, wiped his nose on his sleeve, and leaned out of the box to check that Venk had not ridden up too close. But the commissar was far away, engaged in conversation with Geralt. "You've got pretty good hearing, girl, like a marmot." He grinned broadly. "You're also a bit too bright for someone destined to give birth, cook and spin. You think you know everything, don't you? That's because you're a brat. Don't pull silly faces. Faces like that don't make you look any older, just uglier than usual. You've grasped the nature of the Scoia'tails quickly. You liked the slogans. You know why you understand them so well? Because the Scoia'tails are brats too. They're little snotheads who don't understand that they're being egged on, that someone's taking advantage of their childish stupidity by feeding them slogans about freedom."
"But they really are fighting for freedom."
Ciri raised her head and gazed at the dwarf with wide-open green eyes.
"Like the dryads in the Brokilon woods. They kill people because some people are harming them. Because this used to be your country. The dwarves and the elves and those halflings, gnomes, and other... And now there are people here, so the elves..."
"Elves," snorted Yarpen. "They, to be accurate, happen to be strangers just as much as you humans, although they arrived in their white ships a good 1,000 years before you. Now they're competing with each other to offer us friendship. Suddenly we're all brothers. Now they're grinning and saying, 'We kinsmen, we the elder races.' But before, before their arrows used to whistle past our ears when we..."
"So the first on Earth were dwarves?"
"Gnomes, to be honest, as far as this part of the world is concerned, because the world is unimaginably huge, Ciri."
"I know. I saw a map."
"You couldn't have. No one's drawn a map like that, and I doubt they will in the near future. No one knows what exists beyond the mountains of fire and the great sea, even elves, although they claim they know everything. They know shit all, I tell you."
But now, there are far more people than there are you."
"Because you multiply like rabbits." The dwarf ground his teeth. "You'd do nothing but screw day in day out without discrimination with just anyone and anywhere. And it's enough for your women to just sit on a man's trousers and it makes their bellies swell. Why have you gone so red? Crimson as a poppy. You wanted to know, didn't you? So you've got the honest truth and faithful history of a world where he who shatters the skulls of others most efficiently and swells women's bellies fastest reigns. And it's just as hard to compete with you people in murdering as it is in screwing." "Yarpen," said Geralt coldly, riding up on Roach. "Restrain yourself a little, if you please, with your choice of words. And Ciri, stop playing at being a coachman and have a care for Triss. Check if she's awake and needs anything."
"I've been awake for a long time,"
the magician said weakly from the depths of the wagon.
"But I didn't want to interrupt this interesting conversation. Don't disturb them, Geralt. I'd like to learn more about the role of screwing in the evolution of society." "Can I heat some water? Triss wants to wash."
"Go ahead," agreed Yarpen Zigrin. "Xavier, take the spit off the fire. Our hair's had enough. Hand me the cauldron, Ciri. Oh, look at you, it's full to the brim. Did you lug this great weight on the stream by yourself?"
"I'm strong."
The elder of the Dahlberg brothers burst out laughing. "Don't judge her by appearances, Paulie," said Yarpen seriously, as he skillfully divided the roast grey hair into portions. "There's nothing to laugh at here. She's skinny, but I can see she's a robust and resilient lass. She's like a leather belt, thin, but it can't be torn apart in your hands. And if you were to hang yourself on it, it would bear your weight too." No one laughed. Ciri squatted next to the dwarves, sprawled around the fire. This time, Yarpen Zigrin and his 4 boys had lit their own fire at the camp, because they did not intend to share the hare which Xavier Moran had shot. For them alone there was just enough for 1, at most 2 mouthfuls each. "Add some wood to the fire," said Yarpen, licking his fingers. "The water will heat quicker."
"That water's a stupid idea," stated Regan Dahlberg, spitting out a bone. "Washing can only harm you when you're sick. When you're healthy too, come to that. You remember old Schrader? His wife once told him to wash, and Schrader went and died soon afterwards."
"Because a rabid dog bit him."
"If he hadn't washed, the dog wouldn't have bitten him."
"I think," said Ciri, checking the temperature of the water in the cauldron with her finger,
"it's excessive to wash every day too. But Triss asked for it. She even started crying once, so Geralt and I. We know, the elder Dalberg nodded, but that a witcher should. I'm constantly amazed. Hey, Zigrin, if you had a woman, would you wash her and comb her hair? Would you carry her into the bushes if she had to— Shut up, Paulie! Yarpen cut him short. Don't say anything against that witcher, because he's a good fellow. Am I saying anything? I'm only surprised. Triss, Ciri butted in cheekily, is not his woman. I'm all the more surprised. You're all the more a blockhead, you mean? Yarpen summed up. Ciri, pour a bit of water in to boil. We'll infuse some more saffron and poppy seeds for the magician. She felt better today, eh? Probably did, murmured Yannick Brass. We only had to stop the convoy 6 times for her. I know I wouldn't do to deny aid on the trail, and he's a prick who thinks otherwise. And he who denies it would be an arch prick and base son of a bitch. But we've been in these woods too long. Far too long, I tell you. We're tempting fate, damn it. We're tempting fate too much, boys. It's not safe here. The Skoya tile. Spit that word out, Yannick. Patu, Yarpen. Fighting doesn't frighten me, and a bit of blood's nothing new. But if it comes to fighting our own— Damn it. Why did this happen to us? This friggin' load ought to be transported by 100 friggin' cavalrymen, not us. The devil take those no-worlds from Ard Carach. May they— Shut up, I said, and pass me the pot of kasha. The hare was a snack, damn it. Now we have to eat something. Ciri, will you eat with us? Of course. For a long while, all that could be heard was the smacking of lips, munching, and the crunch of wooden spoons hitting the pot. Pork's on it, said Paulie Dalberg, and gave a long burp. I could still eat some more. Me too, declared Ciri, and burped too, delighted by the dwarf's unpretentious manners. As long as it's not kasha, said Xavier Moran. I can't stomach those milled oats any more. I've gone off salted meat too. So gorge yourself on grass, you've got such delicate taste buds. Or rip the bark off the birch with your teeth. Beavers do it and survive. A beaver? Now that's something I could eat. As for me, a fish. Paulie lost himself in dreams as he crunched on a husk pulled from his beard. I've a fancy for a fish, I can tell you. So, let's catch some fish. Where? Growled Yannick Brass. In the bushes? In the stream. Some stream? You can piss to the other side. What sort of fish could be in there? There are fish. Ciri licked her spoon clean and slipped it into the top of her boot. I saw them when I went to get the water. But they're sick or something, those fish. They've got a rash. Black and red spots. Trout! Roared Paulie, spitting crumbs of husk. Well, boys, to the stream double quick. Regan, get your breeches down. We'll turn them into a fishing trap. Why mine? Pull them off at the double, or I'll wallop you, snothead. Didn't Mother say you ought to listen to me? Hurry up if you want to go fishing, because dusk is just round the corner, said Yarpen. Ciri, is the water hot yet? Leave it. You'll burn yourself and get dirty from the cauldron. I know you're strong, but let me. I'll carry it. Geralt was already waiting for them. They could see his white hair through the gap in the canvas covering the wagon from afar. The dwarf poured the water into the bucket. Need any help, Witcher? No, thank you, Yarpen. Ciri will help. Triss was no longer running a high temperature, but she was extremely weak. Geralt and Ciri were, by now, efficient at undressing and washing her. They had also learned to temper her ambitious, but, at present, unrealistic attempts to manage on her own. They coped exceptionally well. He supported the enchantress in his arms. Ciri washed and dried her. Only one thing had started to surprise and annoy Ciri. Triss, in her opinion, snuggled up to Geralt too tightly. This time she was even trying to kiss him. Geralt indicated the magician's saddlebags with his head. Ciri understood immediately because this too was part of the ritual. Triss always demanded to have her hair combed. She found the comb and knelt down beside her. Triss, lowering her head towards her, put her arms around the Witcher, in Ciri's opinion, definitely a little too tightly. "Oh, Geralt," she sobbed, I so regret that what was between us—" "Triss, please.
It should have happened. Now, when I'm better, it would be entirely different. I could even—"
"Triss."
"I envy Yennefer. I envy her you."
"Ciri, step out."
"But—"
"Go, please." She jumped out of the wagon and straight into Yarpen, who was waiting, leaning against a wheel and pensively chewing a blade of grass. The dwarf put his arm around her. He did not need to lean over her in order to do so, as Geralt did. He was no taller than her.
"Never make the same mistake, little witcher girl," he murmured, indicating the wagon with his eyes. "If someone shows you compassion, sympathy, and dedication, if they surprise you with integrity of character, value it, but don't mistake it for something else."
"It's not nice to eavesdrop."
"I know, and it's dangerous. I only just managed to jump aside when you threw out the suds from the bucket. Come on, let's go and see how many trout have jumped into Regan's breeches."
"Yarpen?" "I like you."
"And I like you, kid."
"But you're a dwarf, and I'm not."
"And what if—" "Ah, the squire tile. You're thinking about the squirrels, aren't you? It's not giving you any peace, is it?"
Ciri freed herself from his heavy arm.
"Nor you," she said. "Nor any of the others. I can plainly see that."
The dwarf said nothing.
"Yarpen?"
"Yes?"
"Who's right? The squirrels or you? Geralt wants to be neutral. You serve King Henselt, even though you're a dwarf, and the knight in the fort shouted that everybody's our enemy, and that everybody's got to be everyone, even the children. Why, Yarpen? Who's right?"
"I don't know," said the dwarf with some effort. "I'm not omniscient. I'm doing what I think right. The squirrels have taken up their weapons and gone into the woods. Humans to the sea, they're shouting, not realizing that their catchy slogan was fed them by Nilfgaardian emissaries. Not understanding that the slogan is not aimed at them, but plainly at humans, that it's meant to ignite human hatred, not fire young elves to battle. I understood. That's why I consider the Scoia'taia's actions criminally stupid. What to do? Maybe in a few years' time I'll be called a traitor who sold out and they'll be heroes. Our history, the history of our world, has seen events turn out like that."
He fell silent, ruffled his beard. Ciri also remained silent.
"Elirena," he muttered suddenly. "If Elirena was a hero, if what she did is heroism, then that's just too bad. Let them call me a traitor and a coward, because I, Yarpen Zigrin, coward, traitor, and renegade, state that we should not kill each other. I state that we ought to live in such a way that we don't later have to ask anyone for forgiveness. The heroic Elirena, she had to ask. Forgive me, she begged, forgive me. To hell with that. It's better to die than to live in the knowledge that you've done something that needs forgiveness."
Again he fell quiet. Ciri did not ask the questions pressing to her lips. She instinctively felt she should not.
"We have to live next to each other," Yarpen continued. "We and you humans, because we simply don't have any other option. We've known this for 200 years, and we've been working towards it for over 100. You want to know why I entered King Henselt's service? Why I made such a decision? I can't allow all that work to go to waste. For over 100 years we've been trying to come to terms with the humans. The halflings, gnomes, us, even the elves. I'm not talking about Rusalkas, nymphs, and sylphs. They've always been savages, even when you weren't here. Damn it all, it took 100 years, but somehow or other we managed to live a common life, next to each other, together. We managed to partially convince humans that we're not so very different."
"We're not different at all, Yarpen."
The dwarf turned abruptly.
"We're not different at all," repeated Ciri. "After all, you think and feel like Geralt, and like I do. We eat the same things from the same pot. You helped Triss, and so do I. You had a grandmother, and I had a grandmother. My grandmother was killed by the Nilfgaardians in Sintra."
"And mine, by the humans," the dwarf said with some effort, "in Brugge, during the pogrom."
"Riders!"
shouted one of Venk's advance guards.
"Riders ahead!"
The commissar trotted up to Yarpen's wagon, and Geralt approached from the other side.
"Get in the back, Ciri," he said brusquely. "Get off the box and get in the back. Stay with Triss."
"I can't see anything from there."
"Don't argue," growled Yarpen. "Scuttle back there and be quick about it, and hand me the martel. It's under the sheepskin."
This. Ciri held up a heavy, nasty-looking object, like a hammer, with a sharp, slightly curved hook at its head.
That's it, confirmed the dwarf.
He slipped the handle into the top of his boot and laid the axe on his knees. Venk, seeming calm, watched the highway while sheltering his eyes with his hand.
Light cavalry from Ban Glen, he surmised after a while. The so-called Dun Banner. I recognize them by their cloaks and beaver hats. Remain calm and stay sharp. Cloaks and beaver hats can be pretty quick to change owners.
The riders approached swiftly. There were about 10 of them. Ciri saw Paulie Dalberg, in the wagon behind her, place 2 readied crossbows on his knee, and Regan covered them with a cloak. Ciri crept stealthily out from under the canvas, hiding behind Yarpen's broad back. Triss tried to raise herself, swore, and collapsed against her bedding.
"Halt!"
shouted the first of the riders, no doubt their leader.
"Who are you? From whence and to where do you ride?"
"Who asks?" Venk calmly pulled himself upright in the saddle. "And on whose authority?"
"King Henselt's army, inquisitive sir. Lance Corporal Zyvik asks, and he's unused to asking twice, so answer at the double. Who are you?"
"Quartermaster's service of the king's army."
"Anyone could claim that. I see no one here bearing the king's colours."
"Come closer, Lance Corporal, and examine this ring."
Why flash a ring at me?"
The soldier grimaced.
"Am I supposed to know every ring or something? Anyone could have a ring like that. Some significant sign."
Yarpen Zigrin stood up in the box, raised his axe, and with a swift move, pushed it under the soldier's nose.
"And this sign?" he snarled. "You know it, smell it, and remember how it smells."
The lance corporal yanked the reins and turned his horse.
"Threaten me, do you?" he roared. "Me? I'm in a king's service."
"And so are we," said Venk quietly, "and have been for longer than you at that, I'm sure. I warn you, trooper, don't overdo it."
"I'm on guard here. How am I to know who you are?"
"You saw the ring," drawled the commissar, "and if you didn't recognize the sign on the jewel, then I wonder who you are. The colors of your unit bear the same emblem, so you ought to know it."
The soldier clearly restrained himself, influenced, no doubt, equally by Venk's calm words and the serious, determined faces peering from the escort's carts. He said, shifting his fur hat towards his left ear.
"Fine. But if you truly are who you claim to be, you will not, I trust, have anything against my having a look to see what you carry in the wagons."
"We will, indeed," Venk frowned, "and very much at that. Our load is not your business, Lance Corporal. Besides, I do not understand what you think you may find there."
"You do not understand?" The soldier nodded, lowering his hand towards the hilt of his sword. "So I shall tell you, sir. Human trafficking is forbidden, and there is no lack of scoundrels selling slaves to the Nilfgaardians. If I find humans in stocks in your wagons, you will not convince me that you are in the king's service, even if you were to show me a dozen rings."
"Fine," said Venk dryly. "If it is slaves you're looking for, then look. You have my permission."
The soldier cantered to the wagon in the middle, leaned over from the saddle and raised the canvas.
"What's in those barrels?"
"What do you expect? Prisoners?" sneered Yannick Brass, sprawled in the coachman's box.
"I'm asking you what's in them, so answer me."
"Salt fish."
"And in those trunks there?"
The warrior rode up to the next wagon and kicked the side.
"Hooves,"
snapped Paulie Dalberg.
"And there in the back are buffalo skins." "So I see."
The lance corporal waved his hand, smacked his lips at his horse, rode up to the vanguard, and peered into Yarpen's wagon.
"And who is that woman lying there?"
Trissmerigold smiled weakly, raised herself to her elbow, and traced a short, complicated sign with her hand.
"Who am I?"
she asked in a quiet voice. "But you can't see me at all." The soldier winked nervously, shuddered slightly.
"Saltfish," he said,
convinced, lowering the canvas.
"All is in order. And his child?"
"Dried mushrooms?" said Ciri, looking at him impudently. The soldier fell silent, frozen with his mouth open.
"What's that?"
he asked after a while, frowning.
"What?"
Have you concluded your inspection, warrior?
Venk showed cool interest as he rode up on the other side of the cart. The soldier could barely look away from Ciri's green eyes.
I have concluded it. Drive on, and may the gods guide you. But be on your guard. 2 days ago, the Scoia'tael wiped out an entire mounted patrol up by Badger Ravine. It was a strong, large command. And it's true that Badger Ravine is far from here, but elves travel through the forest faster than the wind. We were ordered to round them up, but how'd you catch an elf? It's like trying to catch the wind. Good enough, we're not interested.
The commissar interrupted him brusquely.
Time presses, and we still have a long journey ahead of us. Fare you well, then. Hey, follow me.
You heard, Geralt, snarled Yarpin Zigrin, watching the patrol ride away. There are bloody squirrels in the vicinity. I felt it. I've got this tingling feeling in my back all the time, as if some archer was already aiming at me. No, damn it. We can't travel blindly as we've been doing until now, whistling away, dozing and sleepily farting. We have to know what lies ahead of us. Listen, I have an idea.